You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Your wealth makes you an irresistible target to online criminals. According to Saltus Wealth, 41% of high net worth individuals report having been victims of financial crime. Unfortunately, off-the-shelf digital security solutions aren't robust enough to protect high-profile individuals like you. So what can you do? Rely on Concierge Digital Security from Reputation Defender. Concierge Digital Security is not just another app to install, it's a team of experts working in the background to protect you and your family. Behind the scenes, Reputation Defender bundles a suite of best-in-class security solutions covering virtually every aspect of your digital life, from digital identity to online privacy, identity fraud, insurance, and home device protection. Your concierge helps manage all of these for you. Visit reputationdefender.com/success to learn more or schedule your private consultation. That's reputationdefender.com/success.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Yes, we're about 50 people now. I don't want to overstate our. We're not quite yet at the thousands mark. I honestly, at this point, I think that was another big decision, was how much do we wish to scale, and we decided on the size that we wanted to be, the type of organization we wanted to be, and so now we're hovering right around there, actually.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Season 3 of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm, of course, Phil Better, and this season is presented to you by Unicorn Incubator. Unicorn is the largest rural incubator accelerator of its kind in the world, located in southwestern France, Sola. Its mission is to give entrepreneurs and their families their lives back while helping them build game-changing technology startups. Startups in the company are provided with a complete ecosystem for success, with direct access to proven funding sources, top-notch legal and accounting representation, access to the world's most generous business incentives, and most importantly, a dedicated sales and marketing accelerator that will put a startup's product or service on the fast track to success. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. And in this episode, we are investing in Arianna Rehak, the co-founder and CEO of Matchbox Virtual Media. So in this episode, we get to talking to Arianna about how she launched a company a year before the pandemic hit. That's huge. Like, I love getting those people who have just started and had to pivot because of this crazy social event that took place. We get to talking about how she had to pivot her business, which helped her grow her team and company. So that's a great conversation we have. She shares some tips on how to keep creativity alive during stressful times and what's coming up next for her. I had a great conversation with her, and she actually helped me get some ideas in my place how I want to run my business during the conversation. So it was a lot of fun. But enough about that. Let's jump into the conversation. Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am, of course, Phil Better, and today I have Arianna Rehak with me, an amazing entrepreneur that I'm excited to share the mic with. So I'm going to give Arianna the chance to introduce herself, and thank you again for being a guest.
Yeah, Phil, thank you so much for having me here. So I am the CEO and co-founder of a company that started just over 2 years ago called Matchbox Virtual Media. And we produce virtual conferences. So I have to say, we definitely got into the right thing at the right time. This was, we started about a year before the pandemic hit. So as you can imagine, our demand rose very quickly all of a sudden.
Yeah, you pretty much struck gold, I would say, with your timing.
Absolutely. I would have loved an extra 6 months of prep. All of a sudden, it was, I remember actually that first weekend, when we realized that everything was going to change, it was when the South by Southwest conference got canceled. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
That was on a Friday. And I just sat on my couch for the whole weekend, just staring at the wall, being like, what does this mean? We were a team of 5 at the time. What does scaling look like? I was really concerned actually about the effect on company culture of growing too quickly. So yeah, it's been a whirlwind for sure of a year.
Oh, this is exciting because this is a different level of entrepreneurs that we haven't had on the podcast yet. We've had people who just started, haven't hit the growth, if you will, or just exited out of their company. So now we got you right at just after the growth that's still growing, because we're still having virtual events and you're becoming the name in the industry. So what came up with the idea to start virtual conferencing events?
So previous to launching Matchbox, I ran an organization that was a digital publication and online community for leaders of professional associations. So when I say professional associations, if you think about every industry or profession out there, there's an association. So, the American Psychology Association is one of the bigger examples.
The bar for lawyers and that, so...
Exactly. Every profession you can think of. So it was kind of meta because the organization I was running was almost like an association of associations. And yes, it got very complicated to explain what I do at cocktail parties. I will tell you that. But so this community, there was I was brought in very early. So at that point, 0 readers, 0 community members, and it was really my job to build it up. And so at the beginning, we were seeing this core group of people who were deeply engaged. And so we wanted to kind of solidify the connections with this group. And so we started doing these virtual meetings that were like masterminds.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd bring this group together. And what would happen is people in the group would bring issues that they were facing in their organizations. And then the group was collectively workshopping solutions. And what I came to find, one of those conversations, I recorded it and was listening back. And so I opened up a Word document and I just started writing problems identified, solutions identified. And after their hour-long discussion, I had 6 pages of really great notes. And I realized that this group's solutions were so much stronger because they were working together. And so that honestly, that was the day I would say that I developed this deep pathological obsession with the idea of collective knowledge, that any group, if you guide them the right way, will come out with something stronger than any individual. And so that evolution of thought kind of led to a virtual conference that was really designed to do this on a larger scale. So can we have hundreds of people coming together, and can their output be greater than any individual? So what we would do is we would hold these conversations. We would have an attendee chat where we were encouraging folks to bring in their own perspectives, questions, relevant articles and such that they had read on the topic. And then we'd go through and mine those chats for insights and turn those into ebooks that we made back available to the community. So it became kind of cyclical, because also in that we would come to new ideas for future sessions. The conversations would go in different directions and people would bring up really good points. And we'd look at the data, and sometimes a certain topic would get a disproportionate amount of interest, and so we would kind of lean into that for future topics. So we became a core group that was doing this, became really passionate about that whole kind of system, and so spun out Matchbox to bring this to our primarily we work with professional associations, so our attendees kind of became our clients in the end, because it turned out that they could do similar things with their members.
Jeez. That's impressive.
Thank you, Phil.
I'm blown away. I'm like, oh my God, that's genius. And the content just being created by the users, helping build the content so that it just continually, just a whirlwind cycle of content creation as well from the members.
And I would say one of the less, because there were a lot of things that came out of it that were expected, but there were some really powerful byproducts that were unexpected. So I would say the biggest thing was we learned that attendees were effectively meeting each other in these events because they were talking about things that they care about. So we started to follow stories, and we learned, people were being hired from our chats, and, people were, let's say, I don't know if you've ever had the experience, Phil, on social media, there's somebody who's commenting and you're like, yeah, Jim, like, you're a smart dude. I would like to go
fully agree
here
with Jim, because Jim is smart. He's from The Office.
Exactly. So what we learned is that then Jim would be added on LinkedIn by Phil. And then because they had this powerful first shared experience, it was actually leading to real interactions after the fact. So we were learning that people actually, the ones that really engaged in the chat this kind of way, were actually, some of them were saying that it was better than in-person meetings as far as meeting people. So actually Matchbox's tagline is conversations that matter, connections that last. And it's because our one of our primary theories here is you bring people together around things that they really care about, and networking is going to be a byproduct of that.
No, I love it. It also is reminiscent of our first guest on the podcast, who is the success champion for networking down in Texas. He does the same thing, just getting a whole bunch of what he calls badasses together from different areas just to workshop and just help each other in different domains. So I love how you're doing it for the professionals instead of just the entrepreneurs. I love that.
Very cool. It sounds like someone I need to meet.
Definitely will be putting you two in contact, because you guys could definitely make magic, because you're taking some of the professional associations where he's out in the small business areas, and collaborating together can make even bigger badasses and better things going through. Were you always an entrepreneur? Like, did it just happen to, well, look, I guess I'm an entrepreneur now?
So it's a good question, because I actually rarely identify as an entrepreneur. And by the way, my mother will disagree with me.
Generally, mothers do that. They need to promote us for whatever reason.
Exactly, because I have several examples from my childhood of having set up stands in front of my house and tried to sell things, that kind of thing. So that spirit was kind of always there. But in this case, honestly, I am so passionate about the when I was running the previous organization, I was there as an employee, and I just became so passionate about this thing that we had created and being able to scale that. I also saw some amazing, we've had some events that are cause-based. Some of the most powerful conversations I've seen, for instance, were around climate change, of people who are feeling the same a desire to
okay.
Yeah, the desire to take action meaningfully. And so the conversations that took place around that topic, it was the context, the profession, they were psychiatrists, and so they were talking about mental health and climate change. And the chat was like this rallying cry of a call to action, of people saying, hey, if you're interested in getting involved in X, here's a way to do that. And hey, I read this article that talked about, such and such. And I remember our team was working on it. And after the event, we just sat there in silence, just like so moved by what had just happened. And so I saw this potential when I was running the previous organization, and I wanted to bring that into being. And the only way to bring that into being was to start the company. So it's been kind of it was like, and our first year was this like romantic, innovative phase where we were like picking our projects, working with these amazing partners and problem solving. The first few conferences that we held were issue based. So they were bringing their members together to tackle a like larger industry problem. So we were really deeply feeling the why. And so honestly, the technical skills required to put on a great virtual conference, and the principles that we learned of engagement and making great sessions, those were almost incidental. Those were like the means to the end of what we were doing. And then all of a sudden, when the pandemic hit and people really needed help with some of those more technical things, that was we were well primed to do that, because we had to we had to get good at those things. Yeah, so in some way, I would say that it has been a bit of a pivot in that sense. Like, when I look at the expertise that we scaled over the last year, it was very specialized roles that we wouldn't have even imagined as a thing, back in our first year, because we were focused on a very specific type of session and a very specific event. But I will say that expansion has been really amazing. Like, people are now willing to engage virtually in ways that they never were before. And we've done so many different types of events. We've seen so many. We've invented new session types and gotten to put them into practice right away. So yeah, I guess very long answer to your question about being an entrepreneur, but that part's almost incidental. It's like I have the space to problem solve and create, and this like really badass organization to support it.
That is amazing. That is, I think, like when you found your passion. Your passion is helping other organizations solve and meet virtually so that they can grow, and by happen chance you get to grow as well, but you get to see a whole bunch of people grow. And I think that is what's really core to an entrepreneur, finding pain points and solving them for people.
Absolutely. I will add, I do not want to paint it entirely as a rosy thing. This has also been absolutely the most stressful year of my life.
Well, you had the romantic side beforehand where you're like, oh, this is the honeymoon, this is great, and then you get into the real hard work that comes with being the best in the industry.
I guess what I would say, advice for those who are in a position of growth and building a team. We were in an interesting position because our growth happened really quickly, and they say that about when you hit about 25 employees, it's kind of a critical point. That's when you start getting sort of middle management. That's when they say that the culture that you have as an organization kind of tends to solidify. So you have to be really mindful. And so we didn't just step over that 25 person line. We dramatically leapt over it. Right. So it was like the best thing I can say that we did over the last year was being extremely mindful of the company culture as we grew. And recognizing that also is a moving target, that is a relationship that you in an equilibrium that you have to keep focusing on and giving care to.
Ooh, I like that. Like it's a living, breathing part of the business.
Totally. And so one thing we learned right away, for instance, was that when you grow very quickly, certain decisions have a very strong ripple effect. That when you're a group of 5 people, let's say, and one of them says, hey, can I take vacation next week, for example, it's a very straight shot to say, yeah, of course. But the larger you grow, the more consequences there are for, like, especially HR decisions of like, oh, by answering this, I'm setting a precedent for everybody else. And so that was, I would say, the biggest ouch moments as we were growing were decisions that were, precedent setting moving forward.
I like that, knowing that, oh, wait, no, this is completely different from, 5 people to, hundreds of people now being employed. This is a different world, and how you've been able to manage to thread the needle through good and bad decisions, I'm guessing.
Yes, we're about 50 people now. I don't want to overstate our. We're not quite yet at the thousands marks. I honestly, at this point, I think that was another big decision, was how much do we wish to scale, and we decided on the size that we wanted to be, the type of organization we wanted to be, and so now we're hovering right around there, actually.
That's great. 50. Did you ever see yourself being in charge of a company that had, like, let alone 5, but 50 employees?
This has all been like somebody once told me a couple of years ago that I haven't learned the things I don't know how to do yet. And he was saying it almost patronizingly. He's like, just wait until things get hard, was kind of the message behind that. But I think it would be so easy to look back and be like, yeah, I knew where this was going to go, what this was going to be. But it wasn't really the case. The decision to start Matchbox was actually made within a period of like a week or two. I just kind of went, this feels right, and this is what we're going to do. And there was a lot of luck in that. Especially, I don't want to say luck was the pandemic. That's horrible, but who knows what.
There was a break. You started at the gold rush moment where there was this. You got in just before the barrier opened and the floodgates of and having been done individual smaller organizations and associations helped. And you're like, okay, we've established name and make you now the best. That's why you were able to pivot properly to grow as you did.
Phil, you're like my hype man. I need you around.
I'm a pure hype man. I love the reason I started this podcast, and usually I probably say it every episode, is because I never had any entrepreneurs around when I was younger. My father was somewhat of an entrepreneur, but still lived in the banking world. He sold high-end insurance for in association with stockbrokers, and it's kind of an independent business, but you still have that safety of the bank, So I never really had entrepreneurs around me. So when I burnt out in 2020, I was like, I can't work 9 to 5 anymore. It's killing me. So I had to figure out, how do I become an entrepreneur? So pretty much spent 2020 figuring it out, and then I was like, well, been podcasting for 6 years now. At the time it was like 5 years, and I'm like, why not just make a podcast to learn, right? Because I've been listening to a whole bunch of podcasts, so I started reaching out to entrepreneurs and learning, and I've launched my own business for podcast production now. But this is why I love talking with entrepreneurs, because you guys, we're badass. Like, everything we've gone through to get to our successes are a lot of punches in the face, or like stepping down, but moving on. So I love celebrating, because entrepreneurs rarely celebrate their small successes. They celebrate when they reach that big goal, and then they can celebrate, or they just keep quiet and just keep moving, and they don't have the hype man. And I think they should all have a hype man. That's what I think. Or hype woman. Hype person.
Hype human. That has a nice alliteration. Yeah. I will say the month 5 of launching Matchbox, I had a panic attack for the first time in my life. I didn't even recognize what it was. It was such a foreign feeling to me. I was describing it to my business partner, and he's like, "Yep, that's a panic attack." And I was like, "What do I do now?" And he's like, "Your body's going to be in fight or flight mode. You need to dramatically drop work and take time off." So I took a week off, and that week was really reflecting on why I'd had that panic attack. And it was because I was seeing success as this elusive thing so far out into the future. It sounds cheesy, but I started Matchbox because I want to change the world. And changing the world is a very elusive goal. Yep. Is that 1,000 conferences and conversations, out into the future? Is that 10,000? And so I realized that I wasn't enjoying myself at all leading up to whatever that moment would be. And that was definitely a huge mindset shift for me. It then became about making it fun and valuable and meaningful along the way. And sometimes that's like really small things. Like this is like in the weeds, but I'm working on a project right now with my business partner, and we had created this document that was meant to be this brain dump of ideas that we have. And I just had, a boring Google Doc with the, several questions in there, like how might we do, looking at us, right?
Future goals, future projects and stuff. Yeah, I have that too. It's my daily journal, just stupid thoughts.
And then the next time I went into the document, he had added this image from Google Images of this big cauldron and had like changed the font to like this weird wizard font. And I looked at it and I laughed, and I was like, this is such a different feeling going into this document now. Like it completely just added some joy and changed the mood. And like the whole whistle while you work thing, I think it's a myth that we need to start a business, and that it's the grind, and you need to sacrifice for years, and you need to hate your existence while you do it, and that's the only way you're going to achieve success. Like, nah, life is short. You really, if there's one thing that I would preach, it's find ways to really enjoy it as you're going.
I love that. Bringing fun back into the work, because I think for so many non-entrepreneurs or people who want to become entrepreneurs, they look at what they consider successful, corporations and that, and how very square and boxy they are, and this is how you have to do it. And so they go, well, if they're doing it like that, we need to do it. But just like you said, your business partner was like, you know what, I'm going to fund this up and Harry Pottered it to no end. And now it's like you enjoy going into it because it's like, it's fun, it's mystical. You don't know what potions you're gonna brew from it.
Yeah, our management team, they self-identify as the Jedi Council.
Oh,
and so
I love it.
just to stay on brand there.
No, that's great because I'm pretty sure we're in the same generation, the millennial generation, and so we are naming, like, we don't want to be CEOs, we want to be like Jedi Knight, the head of the Jedi Knight Council, because that sounds more badass than a CEO. Like, I'm a podcast mogul. What does a podcast mogul really mean? It's like, I don't know. It means I have a lot of podcasts. That's all. I run a lot of podcasts, and that's it. So, yeah.
So, Phil, someone on the team, I can't believe this came on my desk, but someone on the team has asked for a title change that is special agent, because a lot of what they do is very kind of miscellaneous, coming in, doing great things and bouncing. What's your take, Phil? Should I accept this?
I think yes. I think you should give them the 007 title. They're your 007 or a 00 agent.
Well, Phil, you should bookmark our team page, because this might be an example of precedent HR setting. And so if we make one person special agent, I think it's going to have this intense ripple effect. So please stay tuned to our team page and see how the titles change because of our conversation today.
Definitely going to be one of the top links in here, because that, I think I just helped set precedent. Oh my God.
Cheers.
But yeah, no, that I think treating us like adults, like your teammates are adults, and titles are kind of now not needed, because your job, because we're pivoting and the world is changing, you flux, you get to grow with these smaller companies that are amazing. Like you're still considered a small company. You're under 100 employees, and you're like, does the name special agent really matter? Like, in the long run, like, does it make the employee happy? Yes. Does it add to the brand of, the Jedi Council? Like, will they approve this, as a fun moniker? I think that's a great decision, being fluid with the names and just like, it doesn't matter. Are we having fun?
She will certainly regret it in future job interviews, I will say. But maybe not, because the type of employer that would enjoy that is probably where she should be anyway.
I'm sorry. If someone comes to me and wants to work for my business and says, was a member of the Jedi Council for, Matchbox, I'd be like, I need to know more. What is going on, and how do I work for this company if there's a Jedi Council? Like, what is the secret behind it? And I think that's just also great branding.
Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely done the whistle while we work as a team.
All right. I'm going to give you, we're coming up near the end. So we're going to do two things. I'm going to ask you, what's your ultimate goal? What is either your personal, Arianna, personal goal, ultimate goal, or what is the business ultimate goal? I'll allow you that scapegoat, so that if you don't want to reveal too much, you can go with the business. So what's the ultimate goal?
So interesting that you asked that, because I would say, in terms of my mindset shift about being process, about enjoying process over outcome, it would actually be antithetical for me to answer that question. This was a trick question. I see that.
Ooh, interesting.
So what I would, I don't have an answer, and I think that the way that Matchbox has shaped, if I go back 2 years and if I had answered the question, it would look very different than it looks right now. And I think for us, I actually, to be honest, I mourned the pivot. I mourned the fact that we wouldn't be working on the types of projects that we had previously been working on, or that it would be kind of a lesser part of things. I mourned that change. I have gotten over it, and I'm so excited about the direction that it took. What I didn't want to do is become really, really process oriented. This is how
Everything
This
needs
is
to
the
be good.
checklist. This is the checklist for how we put on a virtual conference. We've been able to bring the innovative spin to what we do, but it was a shift. And so I think that the way that the world is moving and the speed at which it's moving, I think an ultimate goal at this point would be arbitrary.
Ooh, hitting me with the big words at the end and calling me out. All right, so no ultimate goal. What would you like? Okay, a lesson you would like the audience to take away from this.
So if you are an entrepreneur who's listening to this, and if you're in a phase of growth yourself, the big thing that I would say, the most important thing that we've done over the last year is be extremely mindful of building a positive company culture as we grew, and being mindful of those precedent-setting moments as well, and definitely the whistle while you work. Definitely the fact that as you go, there are ways. It's a mindset thing. There are ways to make it fun as you do it, and it's what you bring into it. So that would be my answer, Phil.
I love it. Great answers. Now, I'm a voracious book reader. I love reading books of all kinds, fiction, nonfiction, self-improvement, and all that. And it's a new series we're doing here on the show, and getting entrepreneurs to tell me what is their book that they suggest the most to other entrepreneurs to read. Either if we're starting becoming an entrepreneur, or you just read like the Tools of Titans from Tim Ferriss, and you're like, you need to read this. This is amazing, so much gold. What is a book that you wish or you suggest to read if you're an entrepreneur?
So there's one that's been interesting in my life because I've read it at different points, and it's brought different value to me at different times.
Those are the best books.
Yeah, it's called Scaling Up, by I think it's Vern Harnish is the name, and it's a very practical book about if you're in, and I'm the context. The reason I'm suggesting it is because we're talking about scaling, and so I found the book the first time I read it. It was all theoretical. I had read it before I launched Matchbox, and so I was like, this is interesting, but I can't contextualize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so at different phases of Matchbox's growth, I have gone back and reread it, and not our company functions very differently than most. So I will say there were a lot of things that I couldn't apply directly, but there were some that have been really useful. So that would be my suggestion if you're in a growth phase.
Or if you're thinking about a growth phase, it's get that theoretical, and then there's, I remember reading that, and you can go back to it. So I love that. Thank you so much. I'm definitely going to be picking that up because, heck, it's more knowledge for me, and I can share it if ever I hear someone saying, you know what, I'm about to scale up. I'm like, read this book. This is good. And make me look better. Arianna, I'm going to give you the last 5 minutes to let my audience know. You don't have to take the full 5 minutes, but let my audience know where they can find you, where they can find Matchbook, and how they can reach out, and maybe you guys can help provide them great service. So give me 1 second here. All right, the screen is yours.
Sure. So for starters, if you are listening to this and you're somebody who's looking to plan a virtual conference and you need support, we are definitely good support. You can find us at matchboxvirtual.com. I did actually want to share one of the goals of this past year was to help frame the mindset around virtual events as being delicious. There was a study that I read years ago, actually, that was really influential. A group of people were given a protein bar. So 2 groups were given the bar. One group was told that the bar was really healthy, and the other group was told that the bar was really delicious. And so at the end, they asked each group to rate how full they felt and how much they enjoyed the bar. And those who were told that the protein bar was delicious rated themselves fuller and happier with it. So perceived a better experience than that it was healthy. And so that sort of mindset I've really put into thinking about virtual events. When I look at the typical reasons why people choose to like the arguments around the benefits of convening virtually over face-to-face. It's that they are cost effective. It's that they are, you can bring in a lot of people who are geographically dispersed, etc. Those are all arguments around virtual events being healthy, but not necessarily delicious. And so, my experience in the virtual event space is that they can be delicious. And, there are certainly the sessions, for instance, that are designed around that, harnessing collective knowledge, for instance. Some really cool outcomes emerged that wouldn't even be possible face to face. And so, in this sort of effort to kind of spread the joy of how we look at virtual events, we created this thing called the Matchbox Kitchen. And you can actually find that if you navigate to our website. It will bring you right to the Matchbox Kitchen under the resources tab. And the kitchen is actually, if you can visualize it, it's within our platform. So you'll see an example of what we've built on the tech side. But the interface, it looks a lot like Netflix. And every tile that you click on is actually a recipe. And it's a recipe for a type of virtual session that we have successfully used or done. So, for example, if you are designing a virtual event and you're looking at ways to promote virtual networking, we have a whole bunch of examples of session types that we have used before to help with virtual networking. So if you're looking for interesting ideas for virtual events that you're hosting, totally encourage you to go to the kitchen, check that out. We also have recipes with technology partners that we've worked with in the past, ones that we kind of curate, tools that we think are really cool or lead to really positive outcomes. There are recipes for how to use those tools and engage with them. So we've just launched this, actually. This is the first time I'm publicly speaking about it other than a soft launch. So really excited to see how people use it and what kind of cool shit sorry, I hope that's okay, Phil.
It's fine.
What kind of cool things that they come up with in their virtual events. So as we test things, we are putting them in the kitchen to give the opportunity for others to try them out. And the kitchen is free to go in, check out, and download recipes if there's anything you see that you like.
That's amazing. We got another exclusive. I love it. We do have sometimes exclusives, but I love having those kind of exclusive moments, sharing this with the audience. So love that. Definitely going to be checking out the recipes in the kitchen because it's always useful to have information and sharing that knowledge with other people. So Arianna, thank you so much for that. And thank you for being a guest on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Everybody, I want to thank Arianna again for being a guest. Make sure you go check out all the show notes where the links are for her to get a bit of the kitchen at the Matchbox, virtual conference website. It's all in the show notes down below. And remember to invest in yourself before you start investing elsewhere. Guys, I had so much fun talking with Arianna. We've been communicating off air through her social media, so it's a lot of fun and learning about her company, and that is great as well. So please, if you're doing some sort of great meetup or need some organization things, I would highly suggest checking out her company, Matchbox Virtual Media. Again, if you're interested in learning how to launch a podcast, make sure to check out my live stream every weekday, Monday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. I go live on my Facebook and in my private Facebook group. DM me that or comment down or email the show, and I will send you the invite to that. The Better Podcasting Growth Group. I go live every Monday through Friday so that you can learn how to grow your podcast. Also learn from other podcasters their secrets to growth. Maybe they'll figure out a solution for you. So yeah, you make sure you check that out. There is so much coming down the pipeline. I am so excited. Guys, I wish you a great day, and always remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.